streaming live. Thank you. Welcome.
I guess maybe I should disappear like everybody else.
We're beginning the program. Divine Creator, we ask that the light of highest awareness fill the minds and hearts of those who are open to your light. We ask that they be assisted and strengthened in their resolve to achieve peace using peaceful means. May their minds, their hearts, and their actions reflect the divine will to good for all. Comfort, strengthen, and support those who are in a difficult situation in their mind, body, or spirit. Bring confidence to them that your divine hand is at work in their life. Amen. Greetings and welcome. My name is Reverend Mary Huber, pastor of the Community Chapel of Holistic Healing. We are a non-denominational, nonprofit, spiritual fellowship founded in 1977 by Reverend Michelle Luson, a mystic and channel for the multidimensional consciousness which we carry here. She had an apparition from spirit of Swami Sivananda, who asked her to start this organization and place it in the Washington, D.C. area to be a light for the nation's capital. We are here to aid in personal and global spiritual transformation. CCWH has chapel services twice a month, and we maintain a prayer list. All of these things can be found on our website at ccwh.com. So for those who may have joined us recently, if you're not on mute, please do so. Before we begin, we always start our services and most of our meetings off with the recitation of what we call the three healers. These are affirmations of faith, hope, and charity. You may want to read along as I am reciting them out loud. The faith affirmation. I believe in the spiritual existence of myself as a perfect image of the divine creator. In this reflection that is my physical embodiment, I have faith in the supreme guidance of my soul for my balance, my needs, and my opportunities. Outside of myself, there are also perfect images, and nothing can delude my thinking otherwise. The hope affirmation. I, acknowledging my faith in the omnipresence of my divinity, I hope for realization, awareness, and acknowledgement of the existence of the great I am within myself. The charity affirmation. In understanding faith, in knowing hope, I pledge my actions, my desires, and my thoughts to the performances of myself on the physical planes of the earth to honor, to love, and to enlighten all that is a reflection of the divine outside myself, so that my perfection is imaged back to my Creator. So help me God, and so be it. Tonight's topic is on creating freedom. July 4th every year, we in the United States celebrate the concept and reality of freedom. It isn't difficult to envision, and there are people who do connect with what that really means. But for most, it has become a day of picnics, barbecues, and fun, either in the backyard or at the beach or some other desirable recreational place. It is a very good outward sign of community togetherness, usually, of happiness, and even, for some people, prosperity. The actual interpretation of the meaning of liberty is highly dependent on the circumstances each individual finds themselves in life. Obviously, there are many dimensions to life which makes an individual's world an entirely unique experience. But we all have that common denominator, the fact of being human. Now, those who lived in early America believed that an unseen great intelligence directed the course of the American Revolution and guided the destiny of this nation. It might be said that the swift ascent of the American Republic was nothing less than miraculous. The nation grew from a tiny pre-industrial community to the world's preeminent economic, technological, and military power in less than 2 centuries, which is really unheard of in the history of this planet. America became a land of political and religious freedom, a beacon of hope to the nations, and a stage for the playing out of a great historical epic. By the 20th century, America had become a proud and self-assured nation. The hammer blows of events which have happened since probably the mid-50s, 1950s, shows that we have plowed into pretty heavy seas. Our founding fathers were divinely guided. Each one was under the guidance of a great ascended master. The life purpose for these people was to do exactly what they accomplished, which was to advance the cause of liberty for the people of the world. Long before they did this, this country was founded, discovered, so that it would be the platform on which all of that would play out. Nothing good and great is done without being planned and overseen by God's heavenly forces of light. However, it takes the people, the humans of the world, to actually play it out. This is our own redemption, and we have to be part of it, a major part of it. It has to be worked out on the plane of existence, which created the problem of deviating from God's original plan for this world. Can't be done in spirit. But I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later. But most of the great leaders in early America were Freemasons. And in the book, The Meaning of Freemasonry, the author points out that Masonry offers a philosophy of the spiritual life of mankind and a diagram of the progress or the process of regeneration. As those who embraced Masonry found, it gradually moved them into a new quality of life. So the real purpose of Masonry is not the social and charitable purposes which are so often seen, but the expediting of the spiritual evolution of each participant. But this is our mission here at CCWH as well. As I said in the beginning, we are here to aid in the personal and global spiritual transformation. And it is the deep spiritual nature of our founding fathers which laid the foundation for a society of people experiencing the freedom which their soul intended to express on this planet. You need to remember that your existence is a result of a great love of the Creator. Now, I'm speaking of the existence of your eternal being, your soul. All of God's creations are perfectly created. There is a level of yourself, your true identity, the consciousness of your being, which is perfect. That has been referred to as the I am presence in you. That level is the pure, undefiled essence of self, which knows only God and God's desires. That level knows that it is the image and similitude of the great creator of all. And that level knows that it is created in love and freedom. All souls coming into this earth plane know that love and freedom are their absolute right before God. Limitations that are experienced on earth in regard to these are to be dealt with and solved by each person according to the higher design of their own soul. Patrick Henry, one of the founding fathers of this country, declared, "There is a just God who presides over the destiny of nations." And then he went on to say the famous phrase that he is known for. He said, "Is life so dear or peace so sweet as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery? Forbid it, Almighty God. I know not what course others may take, but for me, give me liberty or give me death." On the inner planes, there are great spiritual beings who have always sought to elevate and enlighten the children of God. Working from behind the veil, they have sponsored the great movement for religious liberty, scientific advancement, and political freedom. A new nation was conceived and dedicated to what Roger Williams, founder of Rhode Island, called soul liberty. And indeed, that is exactly correct. Why are all of humanity here dealing with this issue at all? Only a few really understand the karma of an ancient people who had lived before, even before the Great Flood, on the lost continent called Atlantis, much less why or how that past civilization would affect the New World. We've spoken many times before in these services about that backdrop. And in 1933, Edgar Cayce predicted that a portion of the Temple of Atlantis may be discovered off the coast of Florida. In 1968, they discovered submerged ruins off of Andros Island near Pine Key. Cayce had also predicted at another time that the western part of Atlantis will be among the first portions of Atlantis to rise again. He said to expect it in 1968 or 69. Since then, the submerged ruins of step pyramids, raised stone platforms, and great construction projects have been discovered on the ocean floor throughout the Caribbean and Western Atlantic. While Atlantis might rise again physically, in one respect, it has already returned through the reincarnation of its people. Individuals may reincarnate many times, seeking to perfect the soul and balance karma. Likewise, entire civilizations reincarnate together to balance karma and work out their group destiny. Many grievous errors were committed in Atlantis. It was there that slavery was introduced, as well as horrible genetic experimentation on humans, resulting in grotesque forms they also had cloning of human beings who existed without souls and were used as part of the slaves. It created great suffering and great karma resulted. But instead of wiping out the world of all human life, with which God had so carefully crafted to be a glorious expression of his work, the humans were given a chance to make it right. After the continent was destroyed by their own horrific wars due to greed, need for power and control, and all of the other actual mortal sins known to mankind, it has taken over 35,000 years to get to this point in time. Humanity had to first atone for those sins. So that period of atonement was quite long. And it was only 2,000 years ago that the second stage, known as the redemption phase, was begun. And that was initiated by the great Master Jesus, who came to show the way and how it can be done here on the planet as a human. The perfect human being, as God intended, is and was his example. He himself did achieve attaining the Christ consciousness in his own lifetime. And that is possible in anyone's lifetime with effort, persistence, great love, and dedication to God's laws. So here we are in the foldover time to the last phase given to humanity to make all those corrections, which is the phase of transformation. We are to free ourselves from the horrific bondages which we put ourselves in, and all of the errors that we have created and have tried to work on over time in many incarnations. And how can we actually finally accomplish that? Love is the key to freedom. And let me make that statement again very clear. Love is the key to freedom. It is not the other way around. And why does Spirit say that? It's because there is nothing of value that is ever achieved unless it is done through love. Love of God, love of self, because you are God's creation, and love for others is the sequence. One thing missing today from the general awareness is that love of country is part of that. Your soul placed you here in a country dedicated to freedom. It is up to you to maintain not only your personal freedom, but the freedom of all. Certainly, part of your purpose for being here is to assist the great ascended masters who are working very hard behind the scenes to bring perfect freedom here and a society that lives in love and freedom. Those who remember the 1960s era may remember the disturbances of that time, but the large overlying theme by the people then was that of love. They were called the hippies or the flower children. And if you pick up most of the songs from that time, it tells you how important the focus of love was to offset the disturbances so that the end result would create a better world. Whoever was guiding us at that time was in touch with the masters and the need for love, the transforming principle. Interesting to note that in the 1930s, Saint Germain was very busy educating people about the impending problems of the United States. He was coaching a small group of people to make that transformation within themselves in order to help the entire country and the cause of freedom. And this was very, very similar to what is being asked today by Saint Germain and all of the light forces who guide us. We understand that what we focus on becomes a reality. That's a known fact in metaphysics. Therefore, in that regard, we are asked to focus on what is good and uplifted and desired for the future, and let the rest go. The fifth dimensional energies, which are in place now, will manifest almost instantly where our attention goes. Saint Germain has been promoting the cause of freedom for many, many centuries. And his documentation starts in Europe. He might have done a lot before that, but that's where he was known. He was an historical figure. He is very focused on guiding the United States through this time. He has given us a unique opportunity to use an energy of fantastic potency to help us now. And this is known as the violet flame. It is known as the flame of love's forgiveness. By calling it in and using it regularly, it helps us to overcome our own frailties and create a stronger connection to God. All of this while exhibiting greater love and forgiveness for ourselves and others. The violet flame originates in the heart. Where else would love exist? Of course, forgiveness is part of the love experience. Without it, there would be no real love expressed. How many people today are really ready to forgive? I think the people who tune in here are those people. Just a few sentences that I found about the talks that he gave in the 1930s. I'd like to share with you a little bit. He said, Saint Germain said then, if somebody does something that does not seem to be correct, don't have an opinion about it. Just call in the divine presence into action to produce perfection there. And then stop your own feelings from acting concerning that incident. Do not let one feeling of unkindness or an opinion of such go out concerning each other. It is further interesting to read that there were great prayers at that time going out to hold what they called a wall of light around Washington, D.C., and bind all dark forces. Saint Germain told them to call in specific divine beings to handle the situation. And these may not be familiar to you, but you can look them up. He called in Mighty Estrella, Mighty Divine Director, the Goddess of Liberty and the Queen of Light, to dissolve every human focus of discord that had been drawn within the city of Washington. And this preceded World War II. This is still what we're doing today. Yes, there are great beings of light who are very concerned about our progress here on the planet. It's also the evolution of our souls which concern them. I think we need to look with different eyes at the various monuments which are dedicated to those great beings and honoring them. The Goddess of Liberty, which is a great feminine spiritual presence in the cosmos, is honored by the statue in the harbor of New York City. The statue was given to us by France under divine guidance. We do have a spiritual connection with France regarding liberty. And that still remains today, even though it may not appear in the physical or on the surface at all. And you will read in accounts by various people who said that the statue was first offered to another country, but was refused by that country before it was given to us. That statue was never meant for that other country. And if you know anything about God's workings and the inner planes, the stimulus that created that came from on high. The human factor made an error and tried to give it to somebody who, or some country who shouldn't have had it. But guess what? That country refused it. It came where it was intended to be, right here in the United States, because the goddess of liberty needed to have that statue here. Now, the Washington, D.C. monument is a great place actually it's sacred ground. There is a dedication from higher beings that have been an energy that's been implanted there for the cause of freedom. This great focus of light energy that goes up the pillar actually and ascends into the heavens and does distribute light to the entire country. And those with inner vision can see this. You know, it's been a number of years that I'm aware of, at least, since the nations of the Native Americans gathered at the base of the monument. And I can't help but think it would be really good if they could return with a focus on freedom and a praise to God for this opportunity to serve the cause of light and love and freedom. So I go back to the answer to the original question. How do you create freedom? And if you have not seen that it is only through love that this can be accomplished, then the point of the talk has been missed. Freedom must live in the heart, regardless of what the outside circumstances appear to be. Most often, restrictions that appear in people's lives are self-created. These restrictions may not be coming from this lifetime, by the way. I spoke before about reincarnation and making things right when we have done them wrong in the past. So remember that. This is not the place to adequately address the horrendous conditions being experienced by a segment of every population. It is only through understanding within ourselves as free people what freedom means and then conducting ourselves according to higher design for our life. So explore the many aspects of love. It's not just a word to be said. It is a multitude of actions to be taken in alignment with a much higher understanding of love. Be grateful for your life. You are being given an opportunity unparalleled in history. It does not matter what your circumstances are. Remember, you chose this from spirit. As I have said often before, you chose the body you have, the family you're in, the country you're in, as well as the conditions in which you knew you would be living in. It's a very unique design by your own soul. So please be grateful to God for it. The masters all have been human at one point and had to overcome circumstances that were thrown in their path. Jesus was one example, but a powerful one, which was well documented. People who want to get their body toned and ripped, as they would say, go through a lot of pain and effort. The spiritual body needs at least the same attention so that we would be able to be powerful in the light and overcome any obstacle in our way. So we can help ourselves, and then we are much better instruments to help other people. So while we're working on ourselves, we will continue to help to the best of our ability all who call to us for that help. It is the law of God in motion. Love ye one another and help ye one another was the commandment that we had, or the command that Jesus left with us. So please give allegiance to our great country and celebrate it in your heart and soul. It is God's choice to save humanity through the United States of America. We are destined to lead the way. The Constitution of the United States must be restored and renewed. The degraded condition it has come to will be corrected under the guidance of a much higher authority. However, it will come through people who do understand that part of God's plan. A new day is starting. Actually, it's here. Those who are willing to go within themselves and find God, and then attend to clearing themselves and realigning with higher purpose for their existence, will go on to be part of a glorious new world. Those who refuse to do so will have their own karma to deal with, but most likely not on this planet. Because God's plan will not fail. Thank you. And now we will begin a period of meditation.
This meditation for today is an adaptation of the Iroquois oral tradition. And this particular one was put together by Joe Hobday and then has been altered by myself a bit. So we begin by taking deep breaths in and deep breaths out. Deep breaths in and deep breaths out. Deep breaths in and deep breaths out as we find ourselves relaxing, body, mind, and spirit. We feel ourselves grounded, connected, almost planted in the earth, strong and steady. And similar to a plant, we find ourselves reaching up, touching heaven and spirit and light. Fully connected to these two realms, we feel ourselves covered in a mist or a cloak or a bubble of divine white light. This light surrounds us on all sides, all around, keeping us safe and healthy and whole. Now grounded, connected, and protected, we take our journey to our own special sacred place. This can be any outdoor space of our choosing, one that we entirely create out of our imaginations, one that we have seen only in pictures or images, or perhaps it is a place we have actually visited once or many times, but we try to really see it in detail now. We look around our sacred space, which should feel outdoors and safe and very comfortable and healing to us. We take a moment to not only see our sacred space, but to listen for any sounds that come to us. And we use our other senses too. What do we feel, or smell, or taste? Here in this special sacred space. Once we feel settled comfortably in our sacred space, with a clear feeling for where we are, we face the east, and looking in that direction, we see the beginnings of a beautiful sunrise. We see the horizon stretched out. We see the beginnings of the light of a new day. Perhaps your sunrise has a lot of pinks or purples. We see this light coming into the world as the night is pushed back. We continue focusing on this sunrise. We see now those pinkish colors becoming more peach, more yellowish orange. We see the light as it spreads further and further. The gentle beginning of dawn's light spreading out over all of our sacred space, shedding light, illuminating whatever it touches. And as we watch, the light continues to grow, to brighten, to illuminate. Continuing to face the east, we honor this direction. We look to the east, bringing forth a new day. We know that it can help us to understand birth and new beginnings. This direction helps remind us that life is all about birth. This can mean babies, puppies, but it can also mean new seasons, new times in our lives, new ways of doing things. As we look at this sunrise and face the east, we humbly ask to learn the mysteries of beginnings. Giving thanks to the east, we turn ourselves a bit in this, our sacred space, until we are facing the south. Now time speeds up a bit and we are able to see a full sun shining on our sacred space. We see this full sun shining down. We take a moment to notice how bright it is, how it makes the sky around it blue and the clouds fluffy, how it makes everything seem clear and calm and wonderful. As we focus on this direction of the south, we feel the warmth, the heat, the beauty of the sun. We take a moment to really feel it shining down on us. As the sun continues to shine on us, bringing abundance and warmth, we feel it entering our bodies and minds, spreading its light even there, bringing its warmth and abundance and peace. Still facing the south and the sun, we look for the understanding of the great abundance, fertility, warmth, the extravagance of colors that is present in all creation. We invite the energies of the south to lead us on an enlightened adventure. Now, giving thanks to the south, we faced west. And as we recently saw a sunrise, now in the west, we see the sun begin to set. We see the day's bright light fading. We see as the cool, calm darkness begins to come over everything, and how beautiful the light is as it fades away. First, we see the setting of those bright orangey colors, and then slowly it fades. It fades into pinks and blues and purples. It fades until finally the sun has sunk under the horizon. And we have that cool, calm, dark of night. Still facing the west, we give thanks to the spirit of the west and the sunset. As the sun goes down each day, we can be reminded of the many endings. It may be endings of friendships, the ending of generations, of seasons, of old ways of doing things. We allow ourselves to come to peace with endings. We come to peace with these endings, knowing that new life, new color, new light will come again. Giving thanks to the west, we turn ourselves until we are facing north. And here facing the north, we picture a very cold landscape. We may picture a blizzard or a snowstorm, perhaps an icy lake. Maybe we just see a cabin nestled in the snow, or an igloo, or something else. But we call strongly on the image of something that seems cold and rather harsh. And we take a moment to align with these powerful forces of the north. O strong, powerful north, we face you remembering that life sometimes comes to us in cold and in harshness. Not only may the weather grow cold, but others may turn cold towards us. Let us also remember that though we may stand in blizzards facing the north, we can be strong. We can stand even in cold, even in storm, even in difficulty, without being blown down, without being overwhelmed, without being drawn into harshness. We give thanks to the north for this lesson. Now we find ourselves turning, completing our circle here in our sacred space, so that once more we face the east. And here we look up, directly up at the sky above us. And we take a moment to see the sky overhead. Is it clear and cloudless? Perhaps there are big fluffy clouds floating overhead. But we take a moment to see the sky, and we feel very light, very free, almost as though we are rising up and soaring effortlessly through the clouds. We honor the great spirit of all that is up, all that soars, all that floats or flies above us. We may see some things floating or flying with us, beside us now. And here, honoring the spirit of up, we also become aware of all that comes to us from this direction to enlighten us. We cherish this direction. We cherish the visions that come to us, the dreams, the imaginings. And we ask this sweet power of up to lift us up high to Father Sky. With thanks to the direction of up, we now find ourselves focusing on the direction of down, of our mother, the earth, where we walk, where we stand, where we live all our days, where we sleep. We feel ourselves reaching down, down to the ground. We may get messages from the earth. They may be messages of safety or security, making us aware of how deeply and solidly we are supported here on our earth, how we are nourished, how perfectly we are provided for. We may also at this time receive some messages on how we can be aided by taking more Earth's energies into ourselves, more Earth's qualities. And we may also receive some insight about how we in turn can aid our Mother Earth. What sort of activities we might take, how we might change some habits. Thanking the Mother, the Earth direction, the down direction. We ask also to be humble, to learn how to be simple, to never consider ourselves above all our relatives in creation. We ask that we may walk with respect upon the earth. And we know that one day it will be our time to go back to her. Giving thanks to this direction of down, of earth. Finally, we seek out the direction of in. We put our hands over our hearts to remind us of the mysteries, the wonder, the unknowns that lie within each and every one of us. Our own gifts, our own talents, our own feelings and strengths. Take a moment to connect with this beautiful inner heart power that we all have. Let us work closely with our heart and keep God close in our hearts always. Giving thanks to this final direction of in, we find ourselves slowly traveling back, taking deep breaths as we come back to our own bodies, our own minds, our own homes. Giving thanks to Spirit for all it has revealed, we find ourselves traveling back until we feel safe back in our bodies. Welcome back, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Brenda, for that beautiful, Kelly, for that beautiful meditation. And now you might have visited our website, hopefully by now, and they're at ccwh.com. And I hope you, when you go there, you could drop down menu there where you can find get involved, and there's a place to make a contribution. And here, as you see on the screen, is the annual membership pledge where you might consider becoming a member. We would greatly appreciate your support and in any way that you can. Our affirmations are also found there, and as well as a place to request a prayer for someone in need. They'll go on our prayer list.
For 44 years, CCWH has been an amazing place for spiritual learning, growth, and value. We will continue to provide value that will enrich your spiritual journey. Donations big and small makes what we do possible. Please help us help you and others by making a donation today. Click here to visit ccwh.com. Thank you.